Action.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to Advertising Anonymous. And I have to tell my guests to keep quiet now because there's a protocol here, Mr. Man.
All protocols observed.
Exactly. So I will start this episode with a very simple question that comes to mind. And a lot of people have asked me this. And the question goes, how are ideas formed? Now, to be frank, I think this is one of those questions that has different answers and it will continue to live on forever. In my opinion, developing ideas it can be an innate ability, but at the same time, people say it can be learned and there are processes you can follow to it. For me, the tricky part is always trying to explain how the brain converts strategy and connects it to an irrational thought that now turns to this wonderful thing called magic that we see everywhere. And with that in mind, with this question surrounding and buzzing around, I decided to bring on a magician of his own.
Abracadabra.
And during this episode, he'll be here, we share his story, he will share how we put 2 and 2 together to make 11. And at the same time, he'll kind of take you through his journey and and the things he had to go through to get here. Of course, at the same time, sharing his opinions. So, to introduce my guest today, finally, my guest today is a maverick in every sense of the word. And hopefully, if you know this person, you will understand why I use that word maverick. And I'm not talking about Top Gun, so you guys, let's stay in Nigeria. He's a man of many talents, and from moonlighting as a model to creating or rapping in a well-delivered album. I will drop the name of the album later on. He's originally a copywriter by trade. Yeah. But he's a full lover of UFC. I've not seen anybody that carries it on his head like that.
Easy.
He's a multi-award winning / Cannes winning creative director. And this gentleman here is none other than the creative director of X3M Ideas, Anthony Eigbe, number 2, aka Woo, aka the renewed YJ inside joke. JC Weibo. Please welcome to Advertising Anonymous, Anthony, and say hello to the people.
Hello. Anthony here. What's good?
You guys, if you know what I've gone through tracking this man,
I'm finally here.
They say the bigger they become, the harder they are to reach. But he's finally here, and I'm excited for this episode. I think it's going to be one of those ones that we might just keep going and going, but we have to remember we try and keep it to 16 minutes.
60 minutes. Yeah.
Well, you never know, if the gist is so good, we might just let it ride. So first things first, I will go straight. You are an ad junkie. That one I know. I didn't even need to ask you that question.
Yes, I am. I think I am.
You think you are?
Yes, I am. I really do think I am. Yeah.
What do you say?
There are levels to this now. There are levels.
Yeah. Okay, so explain. What level will you put yourself as an ad junkie?
Ad junkie. Alright, so there's this guy that I follow and I really like, Ansel Ramos. I think that's like the ultimate ad junkie. Because when I followed him and watched some interview, he was talking about how he knew every single great ad from the 80s to the 90s to the 90s and up until now. He's like an ardent student of advertising. So yeah, I think there are levels to this, but I will still rank myself up high. I think I'll give myself like a 7-8 out of 10. So
fair. And I can testify to that, as in you yourself, you're not doing so bad in the Nigerian space. If I throw an ad at you right now, there's a big tendency that at least you're familiar with it one way or the other.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But not everybody will grow up now. Not everybody grows up saying they want to be a copywriter. Most people are all about the 5 popular professions. So if you're not lawyer, doctor, engineer, and so on. Where did you all start from?
Actually, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I actually got admission to study law at USU at some point. So once I got my letter, I went to the school the next week. No, I didn't get my letter. I went to school. They had announced that I had qualified. Went to the school to get my letter. And once I got my letter, I got back home and I was listening to the news the next day. Turns out that they had burnt the palace of the Oba of Osu. And my mom was like, okay, so this is why you cannot go back to school. And I had my admission letter to study law, and I was 14 and a half, and she just felt I was too young.
You were what?
14 and a half when I finished secondary school, yeah. I was looking for admission. So she felt I was too young, and she felt I would be like a target for, cultism and all of this stuff, which I don't doubt. So, eventually I had to settle for the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, and that's where I found my love for advertising after, spending the first 2 years in there.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I'm shocked, as in I can't still do the 14 and a half.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to call you, Sif. But, so from NIJ, fell in love with advertising.
Yes, fell in love with advertising when I wanted to study for my HND. There was this magazine that they would always deliver to our school. It was called M2, Marketing Times 2 or something like that. And every 2 weeks, it was a bi-weekly thing, and I'll pick up this magazine. And the first thing that struck me was Biodun Shobanjo. And I'll be like,
the Godfather.
This man wears a bow tie, and all the people around him. There was Franklin. The way they used to dress, it just seemed like they had a cool job.
It's like madmen of Nigeria.
It just seemed like they had a cool job. I'm like, what is this job? And it was a time where, the corporate environment was very, very strict. And, it was always, you have to wear your tie, you have to wear your pants. But I'll see people of insights back then, and they looked so fun. They were wearing hats, they were wearing shorts. I'm like, okay, so I want to do this job. And I started to research advertising. And eventually, I found out that I had fallen in love with advertising. Then my first campaign was done in my school. So the lecturer who taught advertising would say, okay, so gather yourselves into groups, create a campaign, select the creative director, select a copywriter and all of that stuff. That was my first stint as a creative director, because I was a creative director for my group, and we came up with this campaign for a drink called Too Good to Share, and it was for a made-up drink, but that was my first experience with actually creating an ad, and it was really, really fun.
Lovely.
Yeah.
From there, you didn't stop. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown of all the places you've been to. So you started out at Kose. Then from there you went to EXP, then Insight, and now you're at X3M Ideas.
Yeah.
I get the whole, one thing I love about advertising is that, in my head, you don't have to have one wonderful degree to get a job in advertising.
Yeah.
If you're interested, you have that craft, you have that ability to at least think in a different way, there's a space for you.
In fact, I'll go as far as saying that the higher the Ivy League school you've gone to is, the more pronounced your education is, the less likely you are to be able to do advertising.
I agree.
I really do think so. Yeah.
But it's true, advertising has been a fallback career and a savior. That is the best way to put it to a lot of people, me inclusive. So I'm not even going to front. But yeah. But what I know is that it is never easy getting into the industry. That I know.
Never easy getting into the industry. Okay, if you actually And this is a very important thing to discuss because a lot of people want to get into the industry and they don't know how to get into the industry. So like 13, 14 years ago, when I was trying to get into the industry, I had Yahoo friends, right? So they used to do something called bombing. Like they would bomb clients, meaning that they would send like formatted mails to a plethora of people. And if you send to 100,000 people, at least maybe 10% of that will respond and you can follow up with that. Yeah. So, and because I was close friends with them, I felt, okay, I can use this same bombing technique to get into the industry. So what I did then was to do like a proper research as to, okay, so what are the top 10 agencies in Nigeria? Who are the top creative directors in the country? What is their, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter handle? It was majorly Facebook and LinkedIn back then.
Yeah, true.
So I created a portfolio and I started to bomb everybody that had a name in the industry.
First of all, before you go for it, when you say portfolio, I need you to explain to these young guys that you don't have to have worked anywhere to create a portfolio.
It's ridiculous now, the amount of mails, LinkedIn messages I get saying, oh, I want to work in advertising. And I'm like, where's your portfolio? And nobody seems to have it. But now more than ever is the easiest time to be able to create a portfolio because you have Midjourney, you have like generative AI that can, you can tell, oh, I want an image, a person hanging on the wall. I need to produce that image for you and you can use that to create your portfolio. It's one of the things I actually want to discuss because I run a content series where I actually put out tips and teach about advertising in the industry. But I find that there are a lot of people today who want to get into the industry, don't know how to get into the industry, but the most basic step of trying to get into the industry, which is have a portfolio.
Sure.
And if portfolio is good because it shows people how you think, right?
That's all people want.
That's all people want to see.
Anybody trying to employ you is thinking, how does this person think? Yeah.
And a portfolio helps you do that. And a portfolio is easier to create today than like it was like 13 years ago when I was trying to create my own. For my own portfolio, I had to go to what you call computer school, where they'll teach you teach you small, a little bit of Photoshop. And it was with that knowledge I put together my portfolio. My portfolio, I remember, still had 13 ads from 13 different brands. I had an ad for Red Bull, had an ad for Coca-Cola, had an ad for Pepsi, had an ad for Maggi. I just picked like big brands and I created advertising for them. But I feel like today, so you want to come into the industry and I cannot see why I should
bring you in.
Ridiculous. Especially when there's Midjourney and AI now to help you create whatever it is you want to put in your portfolio. So I think that is the way to go. And maybe it's that people do not know, or maybe it's that people are just too lazy and they just feel, oh, if I talk to someone, I get lost.
So, Nigerian nepotism, they're the one that 2,
5 and 6.
5 and 6. So a lot of you just think, oh, I can talk to XYZ and I'll get this shot. But true story, as I said, AI, throw your work into AI, come up with something. It doesn't have to be perfect. Trust me, everybody knows you're green.
Yeah. Tell you a funny story. My boss currently, Steve Babaiko, last year, he was showing me messages I sent to him 14 years ago when I was saying, I'm a young coding copywriter. I'm looking for an opportunity. Please see my portfolio. So that did happen. And he's my boss today. But again, I did all of that 13 years ago, and today that is so easy to create a portfolio. I keep wondering why I do not even see a lot of portfolios from people who want to break into the industry. Yeah.
And that is the thing. I randomly on LinkedIn, I see people. I think the first person that did it, and somebody, when I was at Inside then, somebody did 365 days of copies. Only copycat or something.
Only copycat.
Exactly.
Really great guy.
He's really good. I remember back then, I used to look at it and
GTB now.
He's at GTB now. I'm going to drag him to this podcast. But
you have to.
Yeah.
That's another brilliant person I actually respect in this industry. That I never got a chance to work with. I just always admired his brilliance.
I agree. I totally agree. He did that, and that was like his portfolio. Every day he used to come pick a brand, execute it, just a poster, throw it out there to the world, and it was brilliant. So before we started, or when you were talking about why you got into advertising, you mentioned Insight, the way they dressed, the way they did that. You spent 2 years at Insight. I was fortunate, I worked with you then.
Yeah, magic.
On different campaigns. But tell me, how was it? First of all, I'm going to throw a brand at you now. SBC. If people don't know, SBC is 7-Up bottling company. Yeah. Of course, they run Pepsi, Aquafina, Mirinda, 7-Up, and so on.
Yeah.
How was it working for Insight on that brand? I remember you guys did the Nigeria All the Way campaign for Russia 2018.
Yeah, was it Russia?
Yeah, to Russia.
Russia 2018.
Yeah, the one that had the wonderful stamp on chest or beat on chest. Yeah, how was it?
Okay, so speaking to Pepsi in general, I think it was what I would call an eye-opening experience. The way I present today, like, so if I have a presentation to a client, the way I present today is basically shaped by my experience with Pepsi, right? Because presenting to the clients on Pepsi, you had to, and this is real, by the way, that if you walk into a room, right, your conviction almost matters more than the idea, right? So you could have a great idea.
Totally agree.
But the conviction with which you sell that idea says a lot about how, if the idea is going to be. So you could have a great idea, but if you don't present it well, that idea is shit. Right? And you could have a shit idea, and if you present it well, with your full chest, we could find ways around, elevating that idea. And it's a very real thing that people don't pay attention to, because a lot of creatives just think, oh, if I come up with this great idea, the client should be telepathically good enough to just know it's a great idea, and I don't have to do a lot of work to sell the idea. But that's foul. You have to, so it just shaped the way I present. But it was also, a very eye-opening and fun experience for me, because you got to work with the likes of Whiskey, you got to work with the likes of DJ Copy and all these famous DJs,
exclusives,
and you go to all these events in December and all of that.
I remember Lituation. Lituation was good.
Yeah. So but underneath all the fun work was the real hard work of trying to sell ideas, because they were very, very strategy driven. And before we even presented an idea, you have to first sell the strategy to say, and they have to be convinced that the strategy works, and the strategy works on a national scale, before you can then proceed to then do the creative work. But it was fun, it was eye-opening. I met a lot of people that I still interact with today, till today. Shout out to Shegun, shout out to Justin, shout out to Abigail.
Big ups.
Fun group of people to work with. Yeah.
Now, so saying that, I know, or I heard that for that account, sometimes you will have to push 4 or 5 ideas at a time to get one. And that is something that I am not a big... So people should try and understand me here. I'm not talking about you just throwing out a number of random ideas and hoping one sticks. No. Mm-hmm. What I actually want to celebrate is the amount of work and the hard work that went into creating those ideas. And that is something I don't think we have now. Now, yes, we've been able to train the client that 2 ideas, pick one. These are the best. Cool, beautiful, I like it. But in-house, it shouldn't be just, you should be able to come up with back-to-back ideas, pushing it until you get that gold mine. And you can now kind of filter through and say, okay, shortlist, for lack of a better word, to what you push to the client. But now we see a lot of creatives saying, but we have this now. And the moment creative director smile at one, everybody's like, okay, nothing can be better than that.
That's it.
I think is a lazy way to work, and I think it kind of reduces the amount of good work that comes out eventually.
Okay, so I mean, in response to that, it's a bit tricky because I think there are several like schools of thoughts on when you go meet a client, do you present 2 ideas? Do you present 1 idea? Do you present 5 ideas? I think ultimately, even if you presented 5 ideas, right, which would take a lot. Meaning, if you want to get 5 good ideas to present to a client, but ultimately, even if you presented 5 good ideas to a client, right, all ideas, I find that they have levels, right? There are levels of greatness to each idea. And if you put 5 good ideas, good in quotes now, to a client, there's usually one that is the best of the lot.
Definitely.
Yeah? So if there's usually one that is the best of the lot, it makes me believe that if you in the process of brainstorming, the act of brainstorming is the act of trying to come up with different sorts of ideas, right? Yeah. Before you finally settle on one to say, okay, so having considered all these 5 ideas or 6 ideas, this is the one I feel is the best, and this is the one I'm going to push the client. Yeah. So there's a sifting process in coming up with ideas. So if you come up with a great one, right, out of 5, I kind of feel that in the interest of putting out good ideas into the world, I don't think you should be presenting more than 1 idea to a client. I think. And a lot of people, there are so many conversations and debates around this. So I think a client deserves 1 idea and 1 great idea every single time.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. Maybe you misunderstood where I was coming from. What I was trying to say was, to the client, I love that. That's beautiful. I believe you give 1 or you give maximum 2. And that's because you have done your work in-house. Yeah. Now I'm saying in-house, as a creative director, and you tell your team to come up with ideas. Yeah. Sometimes there's always this kind of, maybe they've come up with 2. Yeah. Maybe you fancied 1 out of the 2, but you yourself, you're not even happy with it. You're like, this is better out of these 2. When you push back for them to come back with 2 more, it's always a struggle. Yeah. That is what I'm saying. So I'm talking about the reluctance to push themselves in-house before, of course, the agency filters through and sends it to the client. I just think that my first agency, my creative director said, a copy a day keeps the fire away. And all that was that, man, you will come up with several ideas until we get the best-selling one that we can push to the client. And not just because you've come up with 2 that are maybe 6/10, and I think, you've done a good job, so I'll have to force myself to sell 6/10. No,
So I guess maybe what I'm trying to say, you're absolutely correct in that and I think I suffered from this reluctance to create more ideas. Even with my creative directors, when I was a junior copywriter or when I was a group head, if I stumbled on an idea, or maybe through a brainstorm or through self-thinking, I stumble on an idea and I am not convinced that I can come up with a better idea, right? Yeah. There's a heavy reluctance for me to even try to come up with other ideas again. So I'm just like, I don't think I can do better than this because this is my best shot. So are you going to take this or are you going to leave it?
So I get what I swear to God. I get what you're saying.
But if I put something before my creative director that I'm not convinced of is the best I can do, then I'm forced to go back to think of more ideas. Yeah. But ultimately, I think this whole notion of presenting 5 ideas to clients, I think it's actually detrimental to the industry as it is, because if you start giving clients 5 ideas,
what he says, can we merge it together?
Can we merge it together? Or can we put all these 5 ideas together? Or the next day, if you come up with 2 ideas, they'll be like, but you gave me 5 the last time, and you're coming up with 2,
And I'm happy because when I started, my experience was that we push 4 or 5 ideas. But now I know I think the standard is 2 at the max, and that works very well. moving into what I was talking about earlier when I started this podcast, the concept of idea generation and ideation in general. Just briefly, and I will give you the space for everybody to listen to this mini masterclass. How do you go from strategy?
Yeah.
And I know you love strategy, so we're going to talk about that. Well,
strategy is very important. Yeah.
How do you go from getting a single-minded proposition to converting it into an idea that, of course, is informative, educative, entertaining? The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, so for me, I know, I think you asked, because I've been following your podcast as well, and I know you've asked this question. Like a lot of creative people, they have their own ways, of creating or landing at ideas. But for me, what I do is I start from the end point. So I get a brief. The brief says we want to sell X amount of products. It says we want to generate brand love, all of those things that form the objective. Then I look at all of that and I say, what would the end point of a great campaign that answers all of these questions, what would it look like? Yeah.
Okay.
So I start from the end point to say, okay, so it means that if before I can sell X amount of products, before I can create an idea that can go viral or create an idea that everybody will love and everybody will want to share, let me start from the end point. What does the end point look like? Then I work backwards from the end point to say, and sometimes I challenge myself to say, I'm going to create an elevated endpoint, meaning that I'm going to say, for me personally to know that I have cracked this campaign, I must be able to create an idea that everybody loves, everybody wants to share, everybody feels enamored by, and everybody wants to own, right? Then I'm like, okay, so what sorts of ideas have been able to do things like that? Yeah. That can send me off on a research to say, okay, so do I want to look at Dove? Do I want to look at, all the other global brands that have done fantastic work around the same area? But again, I guess the point is, I start from the end point, right, which is very, very elevated. Then I work backwards. It's a way of problem solving that I think can help a lot of people, because if you know what your end point is, it's like a puzzle. They tell you, if they give you a puzzle, you already know the answer to the puzzle. It's just to how to get to the answer you're looking for.
Yeah.
So they tell you, you want to create Daffy Duck, but they've scrambled all the pieces.
Like a jigsaw.
Yeah, like a jigsaw puzzle. So if I know the end point and I've firmly defined the end point, I'm only going backwards to say, what are the things, the features, the instruments I have to put together to get to this end point? And it's grueling, but it is academically rewarding, it is mentally stimulating, because the journey of getting to an idea is as important as the idea itself. Like the fulfillment you get from, I can actually crack this.
Very true.
Yeah. So
very true.
Start from the end.
I will add one thing to that, and I would say the only way, as sexy as what he said just sounds, the only way you can achieve that is if you have consumed enough of be it advertising or marketing materials. You can't know the end result if you have an idea of what it should look like. Absolutely, you're correct. I keep telling people that you cannot, in today's world, people would download like one PDF from Twitter and be like, after reading this PDF, I'm now a copywriter. I'm like, bro, you're not a copywriter. I saw that stuff. Content writer versus copywriter.
Bro, you're not a copywriter. Yeah. So, if it just takes a lot to be able to do that, and again, it takes one of the ways to being great, I think it was Pablo Picasso that said, good artists, try to imitate a great artist still.
Yeah. The best compliment an artist can get is copying or something.
The best, but I think the enduring line is that the greatest artist is still.
Yeah.
Now, what that tells you is that, number one, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Innovation is a combination of two unconnected concepts that you have just brought together to form something. But to be able to bring those two unconnected things together, it takes a whole lot of practice. It takes a whole lot of going through case studies, knowing what works, following people who do great things, and living vicariously through the greats that you have in advertising. So part of, there's no person that is a great ad junkie, meaning that I know every great ad in my head.
No.
And you are not able to create a great ad yourself.
Exactly.
It's almost impossible to do, right? So the first step to greatness is actually recognizing what greatness is. And the way to recognize what greatness is by subjecting yourself day in, day out to great works, right? Because once you do that, you know what the insight is. You know how to twist insights. You know how to arrive at ideas. You know all of those things. You know the formula to getting a great idea. So you can't really be great without studying great in a sense. Yeah,
100%. Very true. This is a question. So if you know Anthony, you have seen some of his work. I think I'll start off, then I'll allow you to continue because I can't remember. Okay. Let's speak about the obvious ones. You worked on Glow, you worked on Regic Insurance, you worked on all the SBCs from Pepsi, Mirinda, 7-Up, H2O.
Yeah. Funny thing, I've also worked on Coke.
Are you serious?
Yeah. For experiential. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. So I'm heading towards there. You've worked on numerous brands and you've created some mechanic, biker, and so on. But what will you rate advertising in Nigeria as it is now on a scale from 0 to 10? And you cannot say 7.
Advertising in Nigeria, yes?
Yes.
No, I wouldn't even go as high as 7. I would say advertising in Nigeria is at 5, right? 5 over 10.
Okay.
And why I say that is because we have created a status quo that we're used to, that everybody wants to follow, right? So where you get greatness, how you can achieve greatness is in doing experimental stuff, is in doing things that have never been done before.
Exactly.
What happens in Nigeria is, if someone does something that is remotely successful, everybody just tries to replicate that. And everybody tries to sit in that space of, I'm not going to do anything extra. This is a formula that works. And the formula is fairly simple. If you're a big brand, I do a campaign. What I really, really want to do is, I want to first create a campaign message. I want to put influencers behind it. I want to put as much media spend behind it. And I want everybody to know exactly what it is I'm trying to say. As opposed to, if you're doing something that is experimental, it means that, what if I can rejig this formula? What if I just stop at messaging and my messaging is good enough to create all of those other things I would, spend a lot of money on? But I think we're stuck in this, I don't want to experiment. I just want to do the formulaic stuff that works. And if it works, I'm good. I don't think we take a lot of risk, and I think you cannot do creative work without risk, because if something is indeed creative, it means that it's a combination that nobody has tried to put together before.
But do you think, is that the fault of the creatives or the agencies now in general, or the fact or the clients not being willing to experiment?
I think it's a combination of the two. Why I think so is this, and I think even in more recent times, and I tend to believe that what like big tech is trying to do is to do formulaic stuff. And what I mean is this: the goal of big tech is to democratize creativity, meaning that every single person in the world can create something. The very essence of Mid-Journey is that anybody from anywhere in the world can, go out there and try to create something, right? But there's top echelon creativity, right? And why I would say it's with the clients and it's with the agency. If you go to an average agency today and you tell them to do a campaign for you, I can predict every single time we want to have a pitch, I would ask the clients, what agencies are we pitching against? If they mention some agencies, I'll be like, okay, so I'm definitely sure we're going to win this, right?
If I want to push you over there, I'll tell you to mention those agencies.
No, I'm not going to mention those agencies. But it just goes to tell you that everybody is used to a level of creativity, which is, in advertising, there's the messaging. On top of that messaging is how you want to amplify that message. And how you amplify that message is through media, is through influencers, is through X, and X. You're ticking boxes at this point in time. So if we're going for and I'll tell you what, the funny thing is, at Insight, for instance, I was known as the person that can give you an out-of-the-box idea that will never get executed by the clients. So the funny thing about pitches is that clients want to eventually go with the stuff that they are comfortable with.
Yes, they want to execute what is comfortable.
Yes, what is comfortable with them, but they need to know that you are creative.
Exactly.
To execute that basic thing they want to execute.
Yes.
So in a pitch, the strategy is usually you come with that average stuff, that basic stuff that everybody does and everybody is used to, and you also have to put in something that is genuinely very creative that makes the clients to think, this could be another way to go. But I'm not ready to
do that now.
Yes, I'm not ready to do that now. And that eventually wins you pitches. It's the same way when you want to recruit creatives. I think we also operate in an industry where we like fantabulous thinking. Yeah. So if I want to recruit a writer now, I need to know that the writer can think, in a way that blows my mind. But ultimately, his day-to-day job is things that would not blow my mind. There are things that won't even, remotely come close to blowing my mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we live in that cycle. But I also think that eventually there will be a change. I think Gen Zs are coming up, and Gen Zs will be the next brand managers, will be the next people in charge. And I think they are a generation that is actually more open to creativity, more open to experimentation than millennials and baby boomers and all the other generations. I really do think so.
I agree with you.
For all their shortcomings. But I think they are more open, yes.
Okay, thank you for cutting me short today because I was about to go on the road. but I agree with you. It for me is a dicey one because I think we've had this conversation before where you said, let me paraphrase, I can't quote exactly, but I think what you said was, how will the client even give you a shot when you don't present something as creative or as edgy to them? If you keep presenting mommy and daddy and the basic things that they're expecting you to bring, how will they even consider it? And I remember then you used to push that, give one so-called safe one.
Yes, safe
and
yes.
Go
with the second one. Yes.
With the second one. And let's see, maybe one day they will just be like, okay, let's even try this one. And I think that has worked for you.
Yeah.
If I pull back, I think the peak one, remember the breakfast police.
Breakfast police. Yeah.
Was that an edgy one? Will you say that was an edgy one?
Yeah, I think it was edgy for the milk category, right? Because when I look at that idea of arresting people or pretending to arrest people who don't take the regular breakfast, there are a lot of things that there are enough reasons why a client can kill that, to say, oh, why are you arresting people? Why are you scaring people with police? How police are in Nigeria.
I've been arrested before. I'm scared.
All of those things. Yeah. So I do think. I would not rate the idea as the best thing in the world, but I think it tried to push the envelope a little bit more than the regular.
It was edgy. I saw it and
there was supposed to be a part 2, which was about therapy.
Are you serious?
You walk into a van, and if you're not having a proper breakfast, and you'd have therapy, and you have like a proper doctor telling you,
why don't you love yourself?
Don't you love yourself, and
yeah. So looking at the Nigerian landscape, it is different. When I fell in love with advertising, and I was exposed to the little advertising I knew back then, my jaw used to drop at copywriters. The way they craft the lines, the puns they use, the twist of quotes, and it makes the idea it will stop you in your track. You're like,
I always tell my writers that copywriting is actually hard. Forget that, you see nice visual, you just think you put straightforward copy on it. The rules of copywriting and arriving at great copy is actually ridiculously hard, because you're combining two things. You're combining the simple and the unique. So you need to write copy that is simple, but you also need to write copy that is unique. Those two, because something that is simple is seemingly like an everyday thing, but something that is unique stands out. So how do you mix both two? But I do think that a lot of people think they're copywriters, and you just see this visual and just be like, buy this.
Do you know the funny thing? The law of let's say advertising or visuals is either you have a straight copy with a bent visual, you have a bent copy with a straight
visual,
and it's like copywriters have just surrendered all the work to art directors. Like, okay, go and buy this. You now find a way to make it exciting, which is so wrong.
Which is why you don't find a lot of copy-led ads that are very impactful nowadays.
I love copy-led ads.
And those things are incredibly hard to write, because all the height of the copy, the punchiness of the copy, the strength of that copy, all lies in the copy itself.
Exactly.
Right? So how do you
nothing is saving you. It's not a black or a purple background that makes you look smart.
So how do you write that?
I think copywriters should actually go back and look at copies like the Economist copy, that campaign. Look at Volkswagen Lemon, even though that was a long copy, but the wittiness and the craft of words in it.
People can't even do long copy ads anymore today, and I think it's because they cannot write long copy that is good enough to even sustain attention.
Baba, let me just break it down. People don't know English anymore. I would say it. People can't write to save their life right now.
But everybody thinks, if I've gone to school, I know English, and I just took read a copywriting PDF. I'm now a copywriter. No, bro.
Very wrong. It takes years to train your mind or to unlearn how to think and learn how to think again.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to jump straight to a former experience of yours that I'm very intrigued by it. I think my first taste of it was when I worked at SBC with SBC on the SBC account, and that's experiential marketing.
Yeah.
You spent like 2 years there. EXP, very massive agency. If you don't know, you should know. So go and check and do your research. But what happened to experiential marketing in Nigeria? There are two things. Is it that I am not aware of them, or they don't just exist? I remember going for a White London event, and it was the process of boarding a plane. You get in, you collect your passport at the check-in, you literally check in, they give you like a stamp, you go, you have your pre-plane, everything felt like you were flying. The event itself was like you were in a cloud full of, I don't know what they use, whether it's dry ice or whatever, artificial cloud. The experience was amazing. I cannot remember. Now everybody just puts up one stage on a beach and puts artists on stage, and the video is playing, so we are good to go. That's experiential marketing. What happened? No thinking, no strategy, nothing goes into it anymore.
Okay, so maybe my response to that would be, so first things first, it's tough to say there's no thinking nowadays, because I do think there are some agencies, experiential agencies, that are still pushing the envelope. I would say, maybe like a live sport, EXP, Altori. There are a number of agencies still trying to push that envelope. It's hard to criticize because, you don't attend every event in Nigeria. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't attend every event in Nigeria, so it's a bit difficult to say. But I still think there are agencies pushing the envelope. But I think it's the same 99% 1% problem, meaning that 99% of what goes on in the industry is mundane.
Yeah.
But there will still be that 1% that is actually very unique, very smart thinking, something that you would actually really, really love. But I think there are agencies that are actually pushing the envelope when it comes to experiential. Maybe just a few examples would be, so when I worked at EXP, I think
I said now.
Yeah,
I said no.
You said no.
I said no. I'm not talking about then. I appreciate when the example I give was then.
Then, okay, yeah. I
appreciate that. Nobody's taking away from them. But now, I hear you with live sport, and true story, yeah, they've done some things. If I'm, there's always the live sport stuff that happens at the quarter.
Yeah, like every year. Live sports, they dominate like the event space. And what could you probably do with the event space?
I know they do a lot of parties and events during December time, which is cool.
But where the real magic is when you're doing brand activation. And brand activation in today's world is just so, we put a rig somewhere, we put feather banners, we're calling you, come and buy this product.
That is
do this promo, do that.
Bruh,
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I forget the name now, but if I describe it, you will know. I don't know whether it was in Paris or it was about weight loss, and they put like some bikes, exercise bikes, and ladies got on it, and they were cycling, and they formed the guy stripping. And I'm trying to remember.
I remember it, but I'm trying to remember.
The brand that did it. It was pink. But those are the kind
Junkie, we don't know the name.
They should go and check. They should go. But those are the kind of things I'm talking about. The Sprite one at the beach.
Yeah.
Where they had this exactly the shop. That is the.
There was also one.
It takes a lot. I think experiential is a really hard type of marketing to execute.
Experiential is probably the hardest, right?
Yes.
Because advertising,
what you're doing with advertising is that you're saying things, right?
Yeah.
And one of the first lessons I learned from experiential is that with advertising, you're only making a promise. So advertising is a promise. with experiential, you have to deliver that promise.
You have to.
Which is
They must feel it.
you must experience this. Oh, so you're promising me something on TV, which is easy to promise.
True.
But with experiential, I'm face to face with you, which makes it super hard. That okay, so this thing here you have promised me on TV, on billboards, I have to experience it now.
Right now.
And that's what is the hardest thing about experiential. But I still think some agencies, they still try to pull it off. But again, it's still a function of, what your client allows you to do, what you as an agency have been conditioned to do.
That is true.
All of those things.
Sometimes I get lost in it and I forget the client side, but I always have to remind myself that there might have been some amazing ideas on that deck.
Tell you what.
That didn't fly.
Tell you what. There's no agency in Nigeria, and you can quote me on this. I've been in this industry.
Hey, quote. We are putting quote on quote.
I've been in this industry for 13 years plus. What wins you a pitch is far different from what a client executes.
No, definitely.
9 out of 10 times.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that speaks a lot. So I think if you work in Europe, if you work in the Americas and all those other advanced continents, most of what wins you the pitch is what you actually run as a campaign.
Yes.
Yeah. But in Nigeria here, what wins you the pitch is far different from what you run. What wins you the pitch is a great idea. What you eventually run is reality of what you are doing in Nigeria.
It will not look good on the brand. So
exactly.
I said this thing. I said that the way time will fly during this podcast,
time has flown.
It is disappearing. But like we're going through, we're pushing ahead, and then that's as you speak. Sometimes you kind of answer some questions I already want to ask, but I'm going to drop this. AI, friend or foe?
AI is a friend that will later become a foe.
You're not a politician. I'm not
even a politician. I'm not like I think I am very truthful when I say that.
Okay, please explain.
So 7 stages of AI. Yeah, I think we're still in the 4th stage of AI, which is where you are still collaborating with AI. But AI is such a powerful tool because you can feed it with information. So ChatGPT works on the information that is available on all of the web.
True.
Yeah. So they say, language models, every single thing that is on the internet is what I'm going to feed into this machine. Yeah. That is collated information. At some point, AI is going to get to cultural information. That's information that is not on the web, right? But information that we know to be true. Yeah? Information that is on analog. Information.
How would that happen? Information that's on analog.
Yeah, because you can convert analog to digital.
Okay, those are the ones. Those are the if they are being converted.
Yes, but eventually you will convert every analog knowledge into digital, because what AI does is to simplify things, or what technology does is to eventually simplify everything. Right? So a time will come when our cultural nuances that does not belong online or that is not existing online will be converted into AI or will be fed into a machine learning process. Yes, it will be. We premiered a documentary called Suit City.
Yeah.
But when I went to, for the premiere, somebody premiered a movie or a documentary about Anila and who is Anila again? This Fuji. I think the person who invented Fuji. Barista.
Okay. My brother, if you ask me now, who I'm going to ask.
But the point is, most of the footages and the things he depended on to release that documentary are not easily available online.
True.
But he found a way, because they are all analog. They existed somewhere, they existed as tapes, they existed as voice notes, they existed as, But in the process of making it a documentary,
He has put it to the world.
He's posted it on YouTube. He's posted it on. Yeah, AI would eventually take that and use that as part of its thinking process. Yeah. So eventually, I think archivists, who are keeping records but are not uploading the records on the cloud, eventually, maybe in 5 years' time, will be incentivized to do that, right? So meaning AI will be more powerful at knowing. If you ask ChatGPT, you say something in broken English of Nigeria now, it's still very difficult for ChatGPT to do that. In 5 years' time, it will not be difficult, right? So everything that is analog, everything that is spoken words would eventually go into the cloud.
I agree
and
with
that becomes dangerous.
I agree with you on that. And the reason I say that is this archivist. I know that I saw one video on LinkedIn. I don't know I think it's called archive.ng or something. And right now, what they are doing is actually scanning documents, Tell magazine. Remember all those stuffs from back in the days, and putting them online for people to access.
Newspapers, Vanguard newspapers, all of these old what was it? Daily Viewers newspaper? Was it?
Charlie Tribune, Daily Times,
whatever it was. Yeah. Eventually, at some point in time, AI companies will be able to pay people to say, "Can you put this thing online?" Yeah. And once they put it online, it means that you've added additional information for AI to process.
to access.
Yeah. And AI would access it. I mean, think about AI in the next 5 years.
Okay,
How do you process things?
But
Different. Yes.
but back to now, I personally, with the birth of AI, I don't want to sound like someone that fights innovation and everything, but I would not lie, I was reluctant.
Yeah.
And
As we all should be.
for one major reason, I believe it will kill my skill. It will reduce my ability to write well. I believe that every single day I sit down by my laptop and I'm writing, whether it's an email, or I'm thinking of a script, or I'm just trying to write a beautiful, whether it is poem or whatever, it helps my brain and it helps me write better. And that was my fear, and I have seen it happen to colleagues, that the moment you tell them, so write an email to finance telling them that the budget did not come one thing, automatically the first thing they go to ChatGPT and they write it. And they put in the prompt and it comes, and I'm like, are you trying to say you couldn't just write this email and send on your own? For people like us and people like us that we have learned the skill of writing. We are not 100%, but we are there.
Yeah.
We can say, okay, we are collaborating with it. But for the new guys coming up that are still sharpening their nails and typing well and trying to learn, I don't think it can actually help them in any way.
I don't think it can unless they decide to help themselves by still learning how to write. Yeah. Because what AI will ultimately do is AI wants to take all our jobs, and I think people who are founders of AI startups, people who are founders of the top AI companies, they've in some sort of Freudian sleep, they've told you what AI is going to do. Yeah? AI is going to take all of our jobs. Yeah? And eventually, if you're a human, you'll be using AI and you're not going to work. AI is going to do all the work. AI is going to be connected to all the train systems, the motoring system, the banking system, everything. But you'll be an individual that, like how people in Dubai live. Like you have a set amount of money that you're going to be earning every month. Yeah? And you're going to get that and you can live with that. But all forms of communications, all forms of industry, every type of industry, AI is going to dominate that eventually, because no human is as good as AI. No human is going to be able to process information as
good as AI.
So what you actually believe at a certain point in time, these ideas that we generate from experiences and the concept of I remember when my mom used to every Saturday morning papa nakara and we have to do sanitation and everything.
They're putting chips in your brain that can host every single memory that you had. Why can AI not create an ad from an experience you had?
They've not put chip in my brain yet.
Eventually it's going to be that. And I think people have to be used to that. To say Elon Musk is actually has started to roll out the testing of chips in brains. If I can develop a chip that can connect to every form of memory that you've had in your lifetime, AI has actually cracked this code of humanity. That's what it means. People underestimate AI to think, oh, there are some evil thoughts, there are some things I can think about that AI cannot think about. But if you implant a chip in your brain that has every access to your prefrontal cortex and all of those things, and can access the memory that you have, AI is going to create better things than you can actually conjure in your mind off of the same information.
I will leave that for AI for now. Let me live in the present. I cannot do without talking about cans. I have spoken about cans. I have learned. I think every time I speak about it, I learn something new.
Okay.
So I'm actually excited to know what I'm going to learn today.
Okay.
Creative director leading the team that won the first ever Cannes Lion in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Big deal. From a boy from NIG, from the small creative director at NIG.
It is what it is.
To that, I've heard the story and I'm sure fans, but it would be good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? How was the nursing of it? And if you can give me the abridged version of it that captures your copywriter, I should be able to do that.
I think so.
That gives us an insight into how Suit Life Expectancy came to life and won at Cannes. A very proud moment for anybody in advertising in Nigeria.
Yeah. So
we can only do better.
Proud moment for me, because I think that over the course of my career, I have presented at least 5 ideas that I think would have won at Cannes, but they never got executed. And when I say 5 ideas, I mean like for like ideas, meaning that I present something, a year later it comes out at Cannes.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I can give examples, and I do give examples.
Please give me examples, please.
There's a campaign that was about the slowest pizza in the world.
Yeah.
Meaning that, they take so much time to prepare the cheese. And because they take so much time to prepare the cheese, this is actually the slowest pizza delivery in the world. Meaning that if you order that pizza, you will not get it until 4 months, 5 months, 6 months.
I remember that campaign.
I had created the reverse of that, which was the fastest pizza.
I remember that was from Pizza Hut and
Annie Brand.
Yes. I remember that.
There was also a campaign that won Grand Prix for Vice. It was about the stolen artifacts in Nigeria. So the head of the Benin bronze artifact and all of those things. We created a campaign where it was about that Benin bronze, and every time you sent a petition, it was the Artifact Museum. That was the title of the idea, Artifact Museum. So it's a museum that comes to life based on every single fact. Yeah, meaning that if something is true, the museum comes to life. Right. So it's supposed to be a museum that is a virtual museum.
Okay.
But the more the artifacts in
they are brought, all the looted artifacts gets returned, the more the museum becomes a real life museum. It's a virtual museum. So the more, So Vice did something where they went into museums and they interviewed people who had lost the artifacts. And if you check the case study, and I can actually send you the document that we created.
Yeah, please.
But yeah,
please. So, I would like to drop it on Instagram and let.
Yeah, there's been several campaigns. We created that. And this is the thing about ideas. I do feel ideas are things that lives in ether, is in the air. Yeah, once you get a brief, once you think through it, you can connect and tap into these ideas that already exist. But yeah, I think me and my team, we've been able to create such ideas. They never really got executed, or it just didn't work out. But it is what it is. But for the suit life expectancy, it was a very tough idea. I think people in the industry underestimate that idea. And they underestimate it because it was just a campaign that ran for about 8 months. And it got all the attention it did. It was number 2 on social media in terms of trends. All the things we did. Yeah, but again, because it was a 1-month campaign, a lot of people just say, is this? But the truth is, those are the type of campaigns that I think clients should be putting more money behind. Yeah, because those are the things that actually gets you what you call brand love, that every brand seeks to achieve. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going off tangents now in terms of the question, but
I don't think you are. No, I was just talking about how we came to life, the process.
Oh yeah, the process.
How, let's say, enjoyable, the feeling at the end.
Yeah, the process. That ad was probably, and again, when people ask me that what is the best advertising you've done, it's not that I've not done advertising that I can call that everybody will recognize. You say Ninja all the way, you say, Pepsi did this, Pepsi did that iteration and all of those. I can call all of those things. Yeah. But the Suit Life Expectancy was a campaign that I felt took a lot of time. Yeah. The campaign was executed exactly a year after we conceived the idea. Exactly a year. Because I was telling Casey, who you've had on the show, that when we launched this, do you remember that we were talking about this idea exactly a year before now? And how it came about that we had to write, there's probably not any campaign in Nigeria that is as difficult as coming up with those with Suit Life Expectancy. Yeah. We had to write to the German Environmental Protection Agency. They gave us data. I still receive emails from institutions on Suit.
I heard that.
So they give us information on 42 countries in Europe that were suffering from Suit crisis and how that impacted on their lives. And we took that information, and this is what WHO does on a daily basis, to say, we're going to take information and we're going to process it, and we're going to use scientific information and process it into, how do we create life expectancy? People don't know how life expectancy is determined. That is the exclusive preserve of the WHO. World Health Organization. And we as an agency in Okwebi Ikeja, we're able to do life expectancy for the people of Port Harcourt based on how much time they have spent in Port Harcourt
with the suit and so on.
That is incredibly difficult. I can definitely tell you it's more difficult than saying, I have this idea, let's use a people doctor, or let's use this influencer, or let's use that. Yeah.
Another thing that blew my mind was that Pelumi, shout out to Pelumi.
Pelumi, yes.
Pelumi, a Nigerian, and I have to say, in case you think Pelumi is a Brazilian name, Pelumi wrote the mathematical equation formula to calculate
Funny thing, Pelumi is the son of the Archon chairman. So the person who does all the Pelumi.
Oh, wait.
He's a first class student.
That
Pelumi.
I know Pelumi. Sorry.
I can't remember his name, but the Archon chairman.
Yes.
Used to be Archon.
Yes,
the
I
Archon
know.
chairman. The son of the Archon chairman, yes, is the person who helped us to create that formula.
Wow.
Yeah. So I couldn't have created that formula. I only had, if we did this, if we did that, we could, arrive at a formula. But, someone had to be a statistician to actually calculate that. And yes, he did that. And so a lot of people don't know like the hard work that went into that campaign. And because it was a short-lived campaign, a lot of people just, gloss over it. Oh, yeah, it's not pick that it's not Coca-Cola. But it was incredible. It's the hardest task I've had to undertake in my life.
No, I remember talking to Sam that everything was well thought of, from, of course, the idea itself, the concept of predicting when people will die, let me put it that way, to, of course, the execution of it, creating a website.
I'm just saying, think about it. 42 countries from Europe with different data sets, and someone had to harmonize all of those things
for Nigeria.
Create a formula that will work in Nigerian markets.
It's mind blowing. A lot of times when you have these fantastic ideas, it's usually this part that will knock it out. You're like, who's going to do that?
Every fantastic idea has that bridge to cross. Like you get to a point where you be like, okay, so we said we are going to do this, but how are we going to fucking do this? Sorry for using fucking.
No, please enjoy this. Swear, please.
How are we going to fucking do this?
Yeah,
and then Pelumi came through for us. If not for Pelumi, we would not have been able. So we could have used ChatGPT to do it. Yeah. But at that time, nobody was thinking about ChatGPT. Someone had to sit down and aggregate all the formula from Europe and say, I'm going to sit down with this formula. I'm an A class, what do you
first class,
first class student, and I'm going to calculate all of these things for you.
Oh, shout out to Pelumi.
Shout out to Pelumi. Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Every time I see him, I give him a hug.
I've not seen him more. I will find him. Lovely. I'm very proud of Kant. The dream of winning it, or the dream of bringing it to Nigeria, has been one of my big ones, and to see it here in Nigeria, I've not seen the physical thing, but I'm coming to Extreme to see
it.
But
in Steve's office.
But it was brilliant and amazing. Next, I'll go to one of my favorite parts, is the quick fire. So I'll just drop some questions for you, sharp. Give me an answer, no thinking. What do you prefer, traditional or digital?
I prefer digital. I prefer traditional.
Traditional?
Yes.
Cool. I'm not even going to ask why.
Yeah, no, that's quick fire.
Brand marketing or performance marketing?
Performance marketing.
You prefer this I need to hear.
Yeah, I prefer performance marketing because I ultimately think every good idea must perform.
No.
So
let me
backtrack.
See, this is the problem with marketing and where we are. A lot of nomenclature can be a problem.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. Brand marketing is what we do.
Yeah.
Campaigns that execute and perform eventually.
Sure.
Performance marketing now that I've been on the client side, I know, are your promo, buy one get one free, do this now. Do.
Yeah.
Performance marketing gives results in a short burst. Brand marketing, long term. Are we on the same page?
We're on the same page.
Okay, and you stick to your answer.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my answer because I think there's a conflation between what is great work and what is award-winning work. Yeah, so a lot of people think, award-winning work must be smart. It must not necessarily work for you. It has to have the illusion of being, it looks smart, it's great, all of that. But great advertising also has to perform.
I agree.
Yeah, so if you look at cans now, the effectiveness category, all of those things,
Yeah.
performance is baked into it.
Definitely.
And I think a lot of creatives grow without that mindset of performance that, oh, you can create something great. I use the suit life expectancy for you again. That was a great performance, although it's underrated, because we had senators blocking us. Yeah. So when people were signing up, yeah, and because the deal was that once you signed up and once you
Take your picture,
participated, it will send a letter on your behalf to a senator in Port Harcourt or a national senator. Yeah. And we got senators blocking our mails because they did not want to hear the ugly truth. And so I thought performance was part of that. Yeah. And we sent over 70,000 mails on a campaign that just lasted 3-4 weeks. So people underrate the performance. So there's no other way to put it that great advertising also has to perform. So therefore, I'm going to pick performance marketing just to shame people who think, oh, great advertising can just be great advertising.
This is your quick fire. I'm not going to even comment on that, but okay. Creating campaigns that satisfy the client versus also that satisfies the client request versus creating campaigns that satisfies the brand request.
Yeah, I think ultimately every client understands, and this is one of the problems with advertising, is that no matter how much you try to embellish the words, you're still under a slave master contract with your client. No matter how you try to embellish it, because whoever pays, I cannot afford an ad on CNN. If I use my salary to put ads on CNN, maybe just 2 ads and I'm done. Yeah. So it's the person who has the most money to sponsor this that you are saving under, and you have to be comfortable with that fact to actually drive in advertising. You cannot think you're the master. You are not a doctor. So people use their, so people use the saying of, oh, you're a doctor and the clients are coming to you for solutions. Bro, you're not a doctor.
You don't write copy.
You're just writing out people. Yeah. So because of that.
If I tell you I'm not getting shocked along this line, but it's alright, okay.
Yeah, OG now.
So a brand jumping on trends, is it needed or is it overrated?
A brand jumping on trends, I think, is needed if it is done well.
Okay.
Because trends is culture. And what culture enables you to do is that culture has all your numbers. Culture has medium. Culture has reach. Culture has awareness. Right? So if you jump on trends and you do it the right way. During I have to bring in this example. During the rape case of Baba Ijesha.
I remember that.
I thought that because I was consulting for a company that made CCTV.
Okay.
And at the center of Baba Ijesha's saga was a CCTV. Meaning that, a candid camera saw him doing what he did. And I'm like, so how come CCTV companies never even try to promote themselves when that culture was rife for them? So jumping on trends, jumping on a lot of these things, I think is right for brands, but they just have to do it in a way that makes sense and in the way that they can propagate their messages without offense. And people just get in and like, this company did smart.
Okay. Last, influencer marketing, yay or nay?
Influencer marketing, yay. Because again, we cannot.
With all the things you have said prior to now.
I keep saying it.
Okay.
Right, that influencer marketing, I was supposed to drop a content where I give a forecast of the year. You cannot remove influencer marketing from whatever it is you do.
I agree.
You can just find a way to control it for your own benefit. All of these things I'm never going to do it because influencers, they give you that reach. Yeah, But how do they give you that reach? How do you control the reach? How do you maximize their reach for a brand? I don't think we get that right in Nigeria because we just want to use influencers to say, oh yeah, promote my message.
Yeah, right.
But yeah,
I think people need to be educated on how to use influencers and
yes, definitely
use it the right way. I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm still going to ask it. Who is one person you would love to work with, locally, globally?
Anthony Ramos. He did so many fantastic things on Burger King. He created the Real Beauty sketches, which for me is the greatest advertising piece in the world. So I looked at that work and I'm like, yeah, this is the reason why I'm in advertising. To be able to do work that moves people.
It's so impactful. So impactful.
Viral at a time when virality was not a thing.
Yeah.
And also,
please say the name again so people know.
Anthony Ramos.
If you don't know him, he is the founder of Guts.
Yeah.
Beautiful, amazing agency. If I'm right, I think they were, is it number 1 or number 2? I think they won like crazy amount of awards this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is you. For me, and I think...
And there's Droga.
David Droga. That was your number 1 G before...
Yeah. No, because David Droga was the actual OG. David Droga did the echo thing where he painted people, the whole of America thought he spray painted or graffiti painted the Air Force One, which is the airplane that the president rides on.
Yeah.
And people all over America were actually saying, oh, Echo spray painted the Air Force One. And it was a fucking lie. Nobody ever graffiti painted it. But he made the whole of America believe that he did. And that went viral when virality was not a thing. So
that is massive. That is dope. I will run quickly. So let me just run through a couple of things. I said we were going to overshoot.
Yes. We're going to
overshoot our time, and that is a given. But man, when the conversation is great, it is sweet. Briefly, in 60 seconds, tell me what inspires your work.
What inspires my work? I think it's just that innate desire for greatness that I think I can never even match. Yeah. But I think I always just feel like the journey is more important than the destination.
Yeah.
So if every single time I get the brief, I have this fight with my ECD, Mike Miller. Like
big ups, Mike.
Big ups Mike is like one of the. I always say he's like my father in advertising because I work so closely with him.
He's my school father.
Yeah. So I always tell him that I feel like our day-to-day work, we don't even have to do proactives to be great. Our day-to-day work can be great, right? But again, I think. What's the question again?
What inspires you?
What inspires me? Yeah. It's just that need to be great. It's just that need to do great work and that people recognize.
I will use this. What is the one mistake you think you've made in your ad career?
One mistake I think I've made in my ad career. I wanted to intern at a purely digital agency. Mm-hmm. Because that's where I felt that never really. So I have a diploma in digital marketing, but I've never actually worked at a digital agency. So when I was structuring my career, I was like, I have to know all like 360 version of communication, ATL, BTL, through the line. But I got a diploma in digital marketing, but I never actually worked yet. But now I'm actually open to interning at a digital agency just to know, media buying.
Hey, shout out Anako. You know the year?
Please recruit me.
You know the year? Come and recruit the first creative director. Trust me, to make for good campaign. That if the creative director can intern at your spot, then you can teach the.
But I actually don't mind interning. Yeah. Because I just think that's one part I've not mastered, but I understand, but not mastered. Yeah.
I agree with that because digital is, for people like us that grew up with traditional and we get traditional, digital can sometimes just look like, you're just adapting traditional today, which is very wrong. And we have seen that with different campaigns, and it's how to manipulate, of course, your ad sets to your placement and SEOs and click
all of those things.
All those things. Okay, cool. So not lastly, 3 brands. Let's play a game.
3 brands.
Kill, marry, collaborate.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't have to be brand you've worked with, any brand. What brand will you kill? What brand will you marry? And then you love, you will keep it forever.
Yeah.
And what brand will you love to collaborate with? And all this has to do with their ads, not their services, of course.
The brand I would love to marry is, of course, Burger King. We did the first, we worked on it together.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that in the agency where I currently work, X3M Ideas, every single time people ask me, what is the greatest campaign you've ever worked on? I refer to the Burger King document, that pitch. And we worked on it together.
Oh my
You and I,
God.
we did.
That campaign was good.
That was the best pitch document I've ever worked on. And I am proud enough to say I'm putting this document in the world. Everybody can look at this document to just see what we did.
Have you done that before?
I've never done that before. But if I were to, and that also comes from Ansel Ramos, because a lot of people know him for his P&J beauty sketches, but most of the work he actually did great with was the Burger King account. And I felt, when we had the chance to do the Burger King account, let's go all out, let's do. And I thought we did fantastic stuff with the Burger King account. So definitely to marry that. What brand would I kill? I can't mention the brand that I'll kill because I cannot even remember it. Because it was the shittiest campaign I've ever done in my life.
What industry?
It was in I think it was in like a health drink or something like that. And it was so slapstick, it was annoying. Like it was like, this brand makes you funny. And I'm like, no brand makes anybody funny. So what are we doing here? But I had to do it, I had to sit through the shoot. I can't even remember.
Oh, it got executed.
It got executed.
Wow.
I cannot even remember what it is. And it's on YouTube somewhere. But even if I remembered, I would never even visit that site. So marry, kill, and what?
Collaborate. With that brand you like to partner with to create that amazing dream campaign.
I still think it might be Pepsi. Because I spent so much time on Pepsi and I saw so many opportunities to collaborate. But again, with time and plans and you're like, you don't have control over a lot of things. But Pepsi was a brand that really shaped me as a creative. So I'll definitely I'll collaborate with Pepsi anytime of the day.
I don't know whether you'll be comfortable with me and stop me, because the moment I just mentioned word, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There was a campaign you shared with me that you wanted to do for Pepsi. Then it never took flight. I'll just say QR code. Can you remember that?
Yeah, sure.
Can I talk about it?
You can't talk about it.
Okay.
So it's one of those campaigns I still think
that you want to do definitely.
Regardless of whatever.
So sure, brilliant. Lastly, we're getting to the end of this.
Producer, I'm so sorry.
My producer is looking at me and I'm like, don't worry, I'm almost done. We're almost done. When the conversation is so good, I need to milk as much as I can milk. So when it comes to the next gen of ad junkies and ad people and junkies that don't even know they're junkies right now, and we're hoping to inspire. First of all, what do you think about it? I think you mentioned that in passing about Gen Z and what do you think about them, and what advice will you give to them to more or less better who they are and to elevate this industry in the best possible way?
I think, especially when it comes to our industry, Gen Zs are not focused on specialization. So they are focused on generalization. And they are focused on generalization towards tech companies. Because I think Gen Zs, they tend to look at what is in vogue and say, it's tech that is in vogue. So practically every Gen Z that we even have in our agency right now, they have an inkling for tech. I want to be a tech I want to be a tech designer.
I'm a UX designer. Every other director
and you're probably studying a course for UX. Yeah, and I understand that is because it is what is in vogue. Yeah, but I do think that there will be a time, and we're starting to see that where tech companies are not what they used to be. Yeah,
bruh.
There's no paper valuation anymore.
Nothing.
Yeah? So it's not as if one company we did one pitch and one company announced that we are worth 1 billion. No. If you are worth 1 billion, you have to be pulling in 2 billion.
Yes.
Right? So there's the paper valuation is getting disregarded, and I think the good thing about that is that it puts everybody in. It's a reality check to say what you are doing either has to make sense. There's no highfalutin idea somewhere else that you're pursuing. So yeah.
Okay. I need to touch on this quickly, and I think it's very important. 60 seconds. Tell me, you have been. I like to see, in short, in reality, awards to a creative is just as important as, how will I put it, sex to a man.
That's sexist,
but yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
It is a way of validation.
Yeah. So,
and you have been member of jury on a couple of awards, from live to what now they just announced it, New York Film Festival Awards. As a jury, what do you look for in a campaign that will make them win? Because a lot of people aspire to win Cannes and so on and whatever. So what do you aspire, what does a campaign need to have to win, or to at least be shortlisted, or to have a chance of winning an award?
It has to have that human connection, right? So every single time when I talk to my creative people about award-winning work, so creatives tend to see award-winning work from the point of view of, if I create something smart, something good, I will win awards. Yeah. But I keep telling them that it's not about just creating something smart and something good. You have to create something that connects with people. Yeah. Your ad has to have that potential to change humanity before it gets deserving of an award. Yeah. So you have to build that human connection. You have to build all of those things before.
So finally, before I let you go, can I have your Junkie quote? What quote do you live by? What is it?
Love never dies, but it will kill you.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was an amazing show.
Thank you.
And definitely I'm going to have you back very soon. So have a nice one. I'll see you on another episode. Cheers, guys.